So you've got goo in your hair, you haven't showered for days, and you got bags under your eyes. Now, I'm not just talking about my entrepreneurs. No, in fact, today is an episode for moms. If you struggle at all with feeling like your whole world is your kids and you know that there is so much more, I guarantee you that this interview with Jess Beard will encourage you exactly where you're at. Let's challenge maybe some of the ways that you perceive your mommyhood and maybe ways that you can partner with God to bring about your full purposes. So let's hit that intro and join me now. Welcome to Beyond Written. I am Dudek. I'm the founder of The Written Retreat, author of The Written Study, and I'm so excited for this interview today because we have the lovely Jess Beard here. And you may know her if you follow her blog online. It's called 5 Things, and she's all about empowering women to live simply. And I love that whole message of 5 things. We've been talking about it, and it's just so inspiring in a world that's cluttered, overwhelming, over everything. She's talking about simplifying your life so that you can really go after what God has for you and find that clarity in that purpose. And today, we want to talk about something a little different, which is so exciting. And she's actually speaking on something that I don't have personal experience in. So I'm really excited about this. Yet. People keep talking about it. But she's talking about identity and motherhood. And I love the things that you're going to share because if you are a mom, whether a brand new mom or a mom to be even, or if you've been fully experienced for years, she wants to talk about how do we essentially reclaim our identities, not just as moms, because there are so many of us I'll just say us women, who overly identify in these areas. Yes. And we need to figure out how do we actually live from an identity with Christ. And so I just love what she's going to share. If you struggle with this at all, this whole conversation is going to be for you. And so first and foremost, if you've been familiar with Beyond Written, we first talk about their dream story. And so you kind of wanted to talk about how 5 things came about, what that's looked like in your life. So do you want to take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Laura. Yeah, so 5 things came about because I was that mom that was burned out, stressed out. I didn't know how to say no.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually lived for Monday mornings. I would pack my weekend so full because whatever we're invited to, yes. What if you need help? Yes. If you need this, yes. And eventually, it just was a recipe for disaster. And thankfully, God is so good because, well, unfortunately, it wasn't my own choosing to let everything crash. But
that's how it goes. Yep.
But, I didn't, I decided to learn from it and not just stay ashes. And what came of it is just learning how to simplify, figuring out what are the most important things to me, and always saying yes to those things.
Yeah.
And it really has given a lot of strength to say no to the things that are not important, that are not going to grow me or my family. Yeah. And, but it's been so great for me personally, my personal life. It's been so great for my marriage because I'm not living stressed out anymore.
So what are your 5 things?
My 5 things are family, community, living simply so I can live generously.
That's good.
Health is a huge one of my 5 things. And business. I also run an Airbnb. I don't know if you know that.
That's awesome.
So business became one within the last year. I had to shift some things around because I was running a business when business wasn't one of my 5 things. Not smart.
That's how you build the clutter outside. It's like, well, I'll just do this other thing. So then 6 things and then 7 things. So I love that idea.
So I had to shift one thing out to make room for business.
That's so good. Yeah. That's a message even in and of itself, though.
Heck yeah, girl.
So how did that come about? Like, what were some of the pivotal moments that led you to create that?
5 things. Well, it was really interesting. I was at the beach with some friends, and my dear friend Bettina, who I love so much, she just casually was like, "Hey, Jess, like, what are the 5 or 10? No, let's stick to 5. Like, what are the 5 things that you like want to be remembered for? And I was like,
oh my gosh,
this is, you know, when you've had like something stirring, but it took someone on the outside to like pull it out of you.
Yeah.
That night, I went home and I got out my journal and I was like, God, what are the 5 things that I really want to be remembered for? And that is where 5 Things was born, because I was like, these are the things I want to be remembered for. Why am I doing anything else that's not on this list?
Yeah.
That is taking up my time, taking up my energy, taking up resources. And so that is really when 5 Things was born. It was born out of that. 5 Things has helped me so much that I just want to get that message out. Like, it's okay to say no. It's so freeing when you're allowed to say no. And so many women don't know that they can say no.
Yeah.
So just being intentional every day to like, am I doing the things that are the most important to me? And when I'm feeling stressed out and I kind of look and I'm like, what is stressing me out? Is this something that's important to me? And if it's not, you know, I have to be intentional to let it go. Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to let things go, but it's always hard. Worth it.
Yeah.
It really is worth it.
It's actually challenging me right now because I'm thinking, okay, I'm fine. In the moment that I'm feeling stressed in the day, is it because it was outside of my quote unquote 5 things? I need to label my 5 things.
Yeah, you do.
And that's just kind of putting pressure, the added pressure on everything else that kind of has this set routine in my life. So it's very interesting. It's a whole different way of processing living on purpose.
It is.
So I love that.
That's really good. And one of my 5 things is empowering women, but even my husband, he has his list of 5 things, and every day he looks at his list and he makes sure that he does something to, to give value to each of those 5 things every single day. He really inspires me because I don't even do that.
Like you're living my message in a whole new level.
He totally is.
Oh,
I love him so
awesome.
much. Yeah.
That's so good. I mean, I think if you struggle with anything like that, you know, over cluttering your schedule, your priorities.
Well, and also if you struggle with feeling inadequate because you feel like you're trying to keep up with what everyone else is doing, 5 Things is so freeing because when you know the things that you're made to do, you can actually celebrate other people when they're doing awesome things instead of feeling jealous or feeling competitive.
Yeah, because you know your lane.
Yeah.
And you stick to your lane.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the core values of the Written Retreat team.
That's amazing.
Is that you know your lane and you stay in it. And that means having yeses and nos that guard it. Because often we think that it's just about the yes, that I'll say yes then to all the things in that lane, but we don't realize that the no is really important too.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that
definitely.
takes protecting in what you're actually doing. And we've actually had women on our team in the process of like gearing up for the retreat who have been so bold. I love it so much when they're in their meeting. They're like, Laura, I actually don't feel comfortable doing that, and that's not like where I'm good. And like, how courageous is that to actually say to your leader, bold. I am not going to do that. And I love it so much. I'm like, okay, we'll find someone else, because if that's not your thing and that's not your strong suit, then I want you pouring your time and your energy and invest in an area where you actually are passionate and where you're gifted. And I think that's what you're talking about, is honing in to those areas so that you can give the fullness of everything you have to those select things, so that everything isn't getting scraps.
And I just want to like give props to you for creating a culture where they feel like you as a leader, you know, people under you feel empowered to say no, because that's really unusual.
Yes.
So good job. Well done.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Doing some good things over here at the Written Retreat. It's very fun. Yes. My people say no to me. Okay, so we're going to jump into the topic of identity and motherhood. And I love that Jess is going to offer an experienced perspective. She's got 5 kids. She's had kids for 11 years, and she's been a wife for 15 years this month. Super exciting. And her, do a little celebration for it. And I just love her perspective, because I feel like knowing her story and seeing how God has had this full redemption of what it looks like to be a godly mom. But even that, what does it look like to be the fullness of a mom and a wife and all of that? And so much of it is the heart of reclaiming your identity. So I kind of want to pass it along for you to inspire these women.
Sure. Well, I will say, I was challenged recently. Somebody asked me a question again. Seems to be a running theme. Yes. And they said, Jess, you are a mom, but you also live fully a life outside of being a mom. How do you do that? And it just really made me sit down and think, like, how do I do that? Like, where did that come from? And I will say that it wasn't always like that. Like, when I first became a mom, my life was totally wrapped around my one kid. Because being a mom a first-time mom especially is super isolating. You're by yourself a lot. But as I grew, something that was really important was finding my identity, not in being a mom, but finding my identity in actually being a daughter of God. So that was really life-changing for me when I realized that even though I am a mom, that's not the only thing that I am.
Right.
So that was really important for me when I realized that I'm allowed to be other things also beside a mom, because a lot of times, mom guilt, it's real. It's like a real thing. And when we find our identity in being a mom, that's when there's like, you maybe have not heard of like mommy wars, but like,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a
Is
thing.
that like mom shaming? Like the whole that?
Mom shaming. Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
Mom shaming, mommy wars, mom guilt, all of it. And it's all very real when you find your identity in being a mom. You are easily offended. Because if someone doesn't do something the same way you do, you feel like they're saying what you're doing isn't good enough. But when you're finding out your identity in God, you know what you're doing is good enough.
Yeah.
You are good enough.
Yeah. So what did that transition look like? Because you said there was a clear difference of you living for your identity as just a mom, quote unquote, versus...
There's no just a mom, though, if you're watching. Okay.
Yes. Well, I love, when we were kind of chatting, she said that. She's like, it's a struggle that we'll say, even for people who are not moms, you know, like, I'm just this. Yeah. I'm just a mom. I'm just a wife. I'm just a stay-at-home, you know, whatever. And there's so much more. And so even if you were just to take out the just, like, I am a mom. I am a coworker. I am a wife. Yeah. But specifically, like, what did that look like for you to shift in your own story?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just realizing that I had passions inside of me and that when you aren't living, so one really cool thing about the Written Retreat is finding your dreams. And when God created you, He put all these dreams inside of you that He wants to live out with you.
Yes.
And so if you have these dreams inside of you and you just keep pushing them down and pushing them down, like, it only breeds disappointment, resentment, frustration. And so once I started to realize, like, like, I am a mom and I love that, but I also love doing this thing and I love doing this. And I just kind of realized, like, wow, I really come alive when I do this thing. There's so much life on this thing. You know, and just partnering with God. Yeah. You know, and just knowing, like, when you are having your identity in Christ, you're partnering with Him. Yeah. And He wants to partner with us. He made us for relationship with Him. And so when we're doing that, that's kind of how I think that was really pivotal, you know, realizing that I'm partnering with God to live out these dreams that He put inside of me.
And I think that goes along with that shame aspect of things. When you're talking about mom shaming, I think it first starts with ourselves. We mom shame, or whatever it is. For me, I'm thinking that perspective, you know, is that it's so applicable for anybody who's not just a mom.
No, it absolutely is.
You know, we'll just shame ourselves so much into believing that it should be a certain way. And then it's like, with that comes all the guilt of then, well, I have to do all of these things and I can't do anything else. And I think what you're saying is so important, that it's about reducing the shame in our lives, like ridding our lives of that so that we can fully live on purpose, and realizing that kids, being a mom, is a facet. It's a singular facet of life where it's a ministry. It is a part of sacrificial living, of becoming holier, but so is being a wife, and so is being a coworker or a volunteer or whatever it is. And there's a fullness of our mission outside of just kids. Yes. But that is a huge part of it.
It is. And for me, family is one of my 5 things. And if I am finding my identity in only being a mom, that is removing so much of the beauty that God created between a husband and wife. Yeah. You know, because so many moms, I have seen so many families, unfortunately, fall apart because when the mom is finding her identity in her kids, the husband gets forgotten a lot of times. Or like, I have spent all my time and energy on the kids, don't touch me, to your husband, you know? And so that's a really big problem. And when I realized that I was even doing that to Justin, my husband, because I was just so worn out and so tired from running the kids all around and doing everything I thought that I had to do, it was actually not great for our marriage at all.
So can you talk about how it looks to, what would be the word, transpose, like to put your 5 things onto your family life? Like, how does that look as you mother and as you are a wife?
Sure. Well, because my 5 things are part of who I am, that's really where they came from. I didn't just pull this arbitrary list of something, like that's who I am. So sure, health, we eat really healthy as a family. We make exercising a priority together. It's something that my husband and I have really connected on is health, and that's been really fun. Community, just getting the kids involved in when we have relationships with other families and just showing my kids how important people are. I feel like it's so important for my kids to know that they are not the center of the universe.
Good lesson. Take notes.
Yes. Generosity. Oh, that's a big one that we teach our kids all the time. A quick story, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I was driving by Target one day, and I had Hosanna with me, and she is 7, and she had a $5 bill with her, and that was all of her money. And we're driving by, and the light was, I think it just turned green, and there was a guy standing there with a sign. And I saw him, but the light was green, and I was like, turn. Hosanna was like, Mom, I want to give him my money. And I was like driving away from him. Hosanna, it's fine. We'll get it next time. No, Mom, he needs this money. You need to turn around. I was like, okay, it's good. I'm so glad that I taught you this really important lesson, and I'm going to follow through. And so I turned around, and I drove back, and I gave it to the guy, and I said, I just really want you to know, my daughter, who is 7, this is all of her money, and she wants you to have it. And it was just a really good time to show her that I mean what I say, and to be able to bless the guy, and just say, God really loves you, and he wanted you to have this today.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Even everything you're talking about goes along with one of the best pieces of parenting advice that I think I've ever gotten as a single woman before I was married. She said, your kids are not called to direct your life where they become the stars. They become everything is about them and for them. And she said, I want to build in my family kids who come along with me in ministry and come into the life that I'm building because I'm going after Christ. And it was really empowering to me because I think sometimes we get caught up in, when you're saying it's all about the kids or all about the motherhood, it's letting them lead. And it's not healthy when we think about it. I mean, they are not even technically quote unquote human yet from a mental perspective.
Sure.
They often don't know how to go to the bathroom. Think about that. We're letting them lead our lives.
Yeah, gosh, that's so true. That's good. Lord.
So it's just you have that, but what we're called to as people who are on mission for Christ is to build that mission field and to invite our kids into it.
Yeah.
And I love that what you did is that, you're saying, these are my 5 priorities. These are my 5 mission fields in life. And I'm teaching you how to be actively involved in each one. And even though there may come a point that you can't really be involved in this stuff because it's a little bit maybe for older people or whatever, but you're teaching them, you're fostering those environments. And I just love that so much. And that was a huge little parenting nugget that I took of I want to invite my kids in if we ever have them. You're coming with me. We're doing ministry.
Yeah, and God gives you those kids.
Yeah.
They're a gift. And a lot of times, I will say this, as moms, we feel like our kids are a distraction from God. As if God didn't give them to us.
Yes.
As if he doesn't know what season we're in.
Yeah.
We spend all this time building this rich history, before you have kids, before you're married, you can have so much time for quiet times and prayer. And then once you're a mom, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have time. But God knows that. And he is so good. He can meet you wherever you are.
That's so good.
He knows your need in your direst moments. He's there. He's already there.
Yeah. Well, I think those are the parents that you look to as a beacon of hope, for anyone who doesn't have kids yet. It's when there's peace in the chaos kind of thing. When they're just okay with what's going on and they're kind of just in it. They're fully in it. And even though it's crazy, they're just embracing it. And I think that's, even from you, I feel like that's a sense of a parenting style, which is so amazing, is that you could just be in the midst of all of it. And even though it's crazy for you, it's inspiring for someone else to think, they're just fully owning it.
Yeah.
And they're not making excuses for it. They're not trying to avoid it. It just is what it is, if that makes sense. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and thanks for saying that, too.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're in the thick of it, you don't know what anyone's thinking on the outside. You're like, if I get out of this day alive, whew. And I'm only saying that my husband has been out of town for a week, and Laura mentioned I have 5 kids, so it's been a week, and that's okay. Yeah. It's okay. It's good.
Yeah. That's the true form of balance, is like every day will be different, and you just manage it.
Heck yeah. Let's see. Well, I will say too, I want to really speak to community is one of my 5 things, and I think every single mom needs to have a strong community. Yeah. It doesn't just happen. You can't just be sitting at home wishing, because that will never happen.
It's true.
Be intentional. Go seek it out. Whether that's going to church and finding other moms at church, whether that's going to story time at the library and meeting other moms. Getting other moms around you will help you to not lose your identity, because they'll remind you who you are. They will pull out the good in you. They will pull you out for mom nights out. You know, it's important, like, as much as you love your kids and you love your family, doing retreats, it's so important to, like, disconnect and take time to, like, remember why you love what you do. And it's not that you're getting away, you know, you're not desperate, but you're sowing into actually being a better mom for your kids when you take the time to invest in your soul. Yeah,
that's so good. So what do you think, I'm curious, about relationships between moms and women who are not moms? What wisdom would you have to share?
Like, I don't know. I love talking to women that are not moms. It's like, I just feel thankful. Like, I feel so thankful. I've learned everything the hard way. And so 5 Things is all about trying to help people to learn things the easy way. Yeah. Because I just want, I heard, I can't remember who said it about, like, how your ceiling is their floor. Yeah. And, you know, I just really took that to heart, because I have learned so many things the hard way. And if I can help you or you to not have to start where I started, where you get to start from here and go up, you know, that's really important to me. So I love pouring into women. I love community. I love getting coffee. I love talking. I just love being able to build that relationship.
Yeah. Well, I think there's, even from the opposite side, I think it's refreshing to get a perspective that isn't in that motherhood stage yet. And while you're still in it, I can be totally wrong. You can totally correct me. Okay. But I think that, yes, I will. Well, I think because I honestly see a lot of rivalry between people who are moms and people who are not moms.
Oh,
and I've seen just this disconnect. And I think a lot of it does stem from the fact that when people are unhealthy in how they view their motherhood, they wear it as a badge to say, well, you're not a mom, so you would never understand. You will never be in that. And I think it's really important that what you're saying, the heart of it is kind of reclaiming our fullness of our identity, and then saying, and here's all the roles that I have in my life, which have given me certain experiences and certain bits of wisdom that help me be a better human being, that help me be a better Christ follower. And I think part of that redemption process is being able to reclaim the relationships, kind of what we talked about with the written retreat, where it's like, if I can fully own my life and not have an unhealthy relationship with each of my roles, then I can live and fully cheer on someone else in a different season of life.
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of what I was thinking, was wanting to really foster that unity, because I think that just as much as moms can help, like, mothers give me such a different perspective of life. It's like, it's incredible. It's really priceless what they offer, because there's such wisdom, because you know that they're being sanctified in a whole other level of life, which is amazing.
The fire.
They're in the fire. So, but I think on the other side of it too, there are single women that I know who feel really useless because they feel like they're not a mom, and they feel like, because they're not. And Katie Hilbert, we talked about this in one of the Beyond Written interviews, where she was saying, well, because I'm not a wife, I feel kind of like, is there anything I can offer them in the church, you know? And so I think there's some unity, and it really all comes down to identity.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Like, if you're finding your identity in a mom and someone's choosing to not be a mom, you go on the defensive.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? You know, and it's like, but when you know who you're meant to be, it doesn't matter what you're doing, and I can cheer you on. Yeah. Like, if you're choosing to be in the business world, that's amazing, and you, like, God has a plan for you there. Why would I be like, being a mom is way better, you know? I mean, it is, but no, just kidding. Totally kidding. Kidding.
Hashtag, we're going to have something at the bottom, hashtag truth.
No, but honestly, I think when you find your identity as a daughter, you realize that then you have a sister.
Yeah.
And, you want only good for your family.
Yeah. So. And you have different lives. Like, you have different roads that you walk. And,
heck yeah.
And you don't know what someone else is walking through. And I think that's, again, the root of the mom shame and the mom guilt and all of that is feeling like you always have to overly describe what your process has been because you feel like it's not enough to just make the decision.
Oh, yeah.
We don't eat this food or I don't breastfeed or I don't do those things. We feel like we have to overly share because we feel like there's just this blanket of shame of like, well, you didn't do it that way.
Well, and you're searching for validation in the wrong place.
Yeah.
So that's a really huge thing for moms. And I think even we search for validation from our husbands, they come in, we're like, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. It's like, our husbands were just at work. They didn't come home and be like, and this happened, and this happened. We're like, we
try to pull it out of them, and they're like, no, I got lunch. That's my day.
But we just feel like we have to prove that we are worth whatever we're doing. Right. And that all comes from when you don't have a proper perspective of who you are. Mm-hmm. So you are already 100% valued, even if you don't get out of bed. Yeah. Like, God doesn't love you more and he doesn't love you less. Yeah. And so when you have your if all of your identity is in Christ, you're not searching for validation in the wrong place.
It's so true. So how could we always kind of end this discussion with the practicals. Sure. So for someone, a mom who's saying, yes and amen to everything that you just described. I feel like I'm in that tornado right now. I don't know how to get out, and I'm inspired to have that shift like you had. How would they practically take steps towards that?
Well, first of all, go on Instagram and unfollow every single person that makes you feel guilty.
Yes. I've been doing this lately.
Unfollow every single mom that posts pictures of their house that's clean. That's not real.
What if it's them? They're going to unfollow themselves?
Unfollow yourself. No, I don't know.
Or just the challenge would be to post a messy picture then.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, be authentic.
Yeah.
So if you're that mom that feels like you have to have everything clean all the time, like, step out and know that that's not where your value is in.
That's true.
So I definitely would challenge you to be careful with social media.
Yes.
And also, my other practical tip is to search out community. And the only way you find good community is also by being authentic and vulnerable. Yeah. So we all are going through stuff, and you got to put it out there.
Yeah. Where have you found your best community?
Personally, I would say my church has been a really great place for community. I was super blessed, though, too, in that this is super unique, but I have still stayed connected with a lot of my high school friends.
Wow.
20 years later, we're still connected.
Awesome.
But our foundation was Christ. I grew up in a Christian homeschool group, and we've still stayed connected.
Amen, homeschoolers. Doing it right.
Yeah. So, but honestly, I feel like there's many places to get connected as a mom. Go to story time. Go to the park, the playground. There's moms everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so you hear that? You have to go on social media, unfollow everyone that is maybe a stress point, maybe overwhelming you a bit, just causing some anxiety, and then
or making you feel like you're not enough.
Yeah, that's good. And then find community so that you can break through in vulnerability. So you're taking out those that are creating that facade for you, and then seek out active people who can break down those walls even more. And
the last thing I will say is invest in yourself and come to the retreat.
I did not pay her to say that.
She didn't. You should absolutely invest in yourself. You're worth it.
Yes, it's true. You have to see, too, that the heart of what she's saying is that you do have dreams inside of you. You have purposes that are put in your heart because they matter to the kingdom of God. Like, that's why he gives us these purposes. It's community for a purpose. It's health for a purpose. Like, there's a greater purpose to it all. And if we don't start putting value in those things, then we're actually missing a part of God's heart for this world.
Yeah.
So if you don't fully embrace that and step into it, then there's actually going to be a need that's unfulfilled that required you to have faith to step into it. And so it's not just saying, oh yeah, go to a weekend and nap all weekend long, which that would be amazing too. But, it's about saying, I'm saying yes to the things of God. Like, I'm taking that step of obedience. And if he is calling me to take a 5-hour nap, which we've talked about doing siesta time because women just need it. That's a holy thing. It's a holy pursuit when we partner with God. and we just need to allow ourselves to give
Rest
value
is
to
important.
it.
Rest
It's
is a
so
thing
good.
that you do.
That's why I love holy naps. One of the best things I did before my wedding, I took a nap on my parents' boat. And I literally, it was like the most divine experience I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
Like, I walked away from that, like, so disoriented because I'm like, I feel like I was just in heaven. Like, that was amazing.
Wow.
So naps are holy. They are good. So yeah, I just want to encourage you guys with that.
Awesome.
Last but not least.
Uh-oh.
It is the Copperfish Bowl.
Oh, so I picked it.
So you can pick it. I hope you can read it. They're in cursive, so.
How do you intentionally spend time with God? I will say that I'm thankful for technology because I use my Bible app quite a bit. And I have recently picked up running, which I love. I just love it so
Bless
much.
your heart.
You know what? I'm in a season of grace because I've ran before and I didn't love it, but now I'm just really loving it. And just being able to like put in a podcast and like to learn about God. Yeah. Early mornings are really good for connecting with God, and I really love corporate worship. That is just my favorite. Justin and I and all of our 5 kids, getting out the door for church on Sunday morning is no small feat. And we had to have some good communication because he didn't understand like that when we're late, it's like we're late during worship.
And that cuts into your time. Right.
And so his favorite part is the teaching and my favorite part is the worship. And so I had to be like, look, we cannot be late, or you can check the kids in, and I'm going upstairs, because that's one way that I absolutely love connecting with God is corporate worship.
That's so good. Good answer. Not that there would ever be a bad answer.
If you could have a do-over, what would it be? Oh, I have one do-over. So my husband and I traveled a lot. I told you about that. And I probably wish that I would have traveled a little bit more before having kids. Because once we had kids, we would really like to travel with our kids, but I think I would have really liked to see more of the world.
Yeah. Well, that's why you can get a little helper. Maybe just have another kid, and then the older one can help the younger.
No. We're done. 5 is enough. That's the question. Are you done having kids? Yes. I'm just kidding.
She just knew. We just knew she was coming.
What does living your dream look like? It looks different every single day. I have big dreams. I'm definitely a dreamer. And I'm a 7 on the Enneagram, so I'm always thinking about the future, and I need to be more intentional about thinking about the present. But living my dream looks different every day. It's like planning for the next thing, or... Yeah.
That's good. Keeps it exciting.
Yeah, it is.
You got your 5 things leading your way?
Got my 5 things. Yeah.
That's good. So the last part of this, of every single Beyond Written, is the fill-in-the-blank question or statement, what happens when you let God? And that really is the perfect phrase to describe Written and its message, because we realize as dreamers that God has planted these visions inside of us, and it's not us on our own making it happen, striving to make it come about. It's about saying I'm partnering with God and I'm actually letting Him do His full work in my life. Okay. So we have every single one of our guests fill in the blank. So for you, Jess, what happens when you let God?
What happens when you let God tell you who you are? It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about you.
That is so good. That's perfect. That's a perfect way to describe it. I love, you guys are getting so creative and you're finding ways to just like, these are all my wordsmith people that are just perfectly wrapping it up. Okay, anything else? Last thing.
Yeah, I just want to say onto that, like, what happens when you let God tell you who you are? Part of 5 things is, it removes all the guilt. It removes all the, what does that person think about me? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Because you get to live fully known, fully loved, and fully validated.
That's so good. How can they find more of that message?
Where you can find me?
Yeah.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. My Facebook is 5 Things.
And the number 5?
No. F-I-V-E.
Okay, 5 Things. And then online?
My blog is www.5things.life.
Ooh, 5things.life. And it's all typed out.
All typed out. FIVETHINGS.life.
Okay, make sure you go follow her. You're going to love everything that she posts. She's completely real, authentic, We love it. It's inspiring for me to watch from a distance all that's happening. And of course, we just want to do one final encouragement that if you're a mom, you're burned out, you need a break, and you need to hear what God has to say about your God-given dreams, we encourage you to come to the Written Retreat. It's only 3 days, Thursday night through Sunday.
You will be so blessed.
Yes, so make sure you sign up. We're just excited to see you guys and see what God does, because we feel like God has an incredible lineup of people who are going to be there. And it's not just about what we have to tell you, but ultimately what God says and then what your community of women can say into your life. And I guarantee that you'll walk away changed forever.
Yeah, you'll absolutely be filled up.
Yes, with all these little fun things that we do. So you'll enjoy it. Okay, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Beyond Written. We're so thankful that you spent some time with us, and hopefully this was encouraging for your everyday life as you go after God's dreams. So we love you, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.